Okay, so I'm still preparing for the Adobe Learning Summit, which is going to be October 2nd in Las Vegas, Nevada at the Mirage Hotel. And I will be presenting a session on creating custom interactions in the all-new Adobe Captivate. Pooja Jasing and I have been working together to create a set of interactions that we're going to teach you how to build. And we're going to present those separately in two different rooms. So she's contributed 3 and I've contributed 3. And I think they're pretty good. I'm pretty excited to share some really cool stuff with you guys. Here is a simple knowledge check that perhaps you don't want to use the built-in multiple choice or true false questions that are built into Captivate, and instead you want something that's more in keeping with the design of your course. In this case here, we have this little cutout character guy here, and the text associated with what he might be saying to you is on screen. And so on slide number 2, I've added a single character media block, and we've turned on in addition to the character, the title, body, and we've set it up as a card. So this blurred out background of an office environment, it shows behind them. In addition, we have a button block down here, and this might look a little different to you. You're looking at this like, what? I'm using 3 buttons in a standard button block. There's nothing unique about this. The only thing that's different is that the first 2 buttons I've chosen from the design options on the second page of the button design options. And we've stuck with sort of just the navigation controls option from the first page here for the next button. So let's customize this. First of all, let me point out that for each of the objects up above, I've got multi-state objects or poses in the case of characters. So we have a correct guy and we have an incorrect guy. And with the title for the item here, we also have a correct message, incorrect. And for the question stem itself, same thing, correct, incorrect. And we'll show those depending on what you select down below. So let's go ahead and customize this here. First thing, let's hide that next button because we don't want people moving forward until they've answered this question here. So if you select your next button, and you can see I'm still following my old style of labeling all my objects to make it easy to find when I'm looking for objects on the timeline or in the properties inspector. I'm going to hide during publish. So by default, this next button will not be visible in output. And you can know that you've done that correctly because you'll see a slash through the little icon that's here. Next, we're going to take a look at the no button. This is an incorrect answer. So we're going to go to the interactions icon next to the properties inspector, and we will set up the actions for clicking this in the interactions inspector here. Now, we're going to set a bunch of states for these objects up here. It's really simple advanced action to do, if you want to call it that. We're going to select our character, and we're going to show the incorrect state. Click Next. And you can reset this on slide revisits if you wish. I think I'll do that in this case just to show you how that works. And then we can click on Done. And now we can add a new action, which will also be set state for the title. And again, we're incorrect, next, and we'll reset that on slide revisit. So when you come back here, it'll look like it's untouched. Click Done, and we'll add a new action. Set state for the question stem to be incorrect, next, and we'll reset that also on slide revisit. Click Done. So we have our 3 different actions that are occurring when we press the no button here. One thing you might want to know about is that if I select all my actions, I can merge them together. And the purpose of doing this is so that they run simultaneously with one another. And you'll see them kind of tighten up there. You can split them, unmerge them, if you will, if that's what you wish to do. But I think it's beneficial in certain cases where you want all actions to appear like they're happening all at once. I find that this seems to be more predominant with certain actions and less predominant with others. But I think it's a good best practice if you want everything to just kind of happen at once. So now I've got that first interaction written. And if I need to apply a similar interaction to another button, which I do in the case of the correct button, I can actually cheat a little bit here, and I can right click on this and copy those interactions. And we can select our correct button. We'll right click on that and paste the interactions. Now all we need to do is make some changes, and I need to add one additional action as well. So first thing let's do is let's edit this action, and we'll click on edit from incorrect, and we'll change this to correct, and I'll unselect incorrect. That's something to get used to in the new Captivate. You may need to, when you've copied actions over to another button, you may need to unselect the previous action before you select a new one. So I can click next and done. And little details like resetting on slide revisits, that's copied over as well. Let's do the same thing for the title. We'll change that from incorrect to correct. Next, done. And same thing here. We'll change that from incorrect to correct. Next, done. And we're going to add one new action, which will be to show our next button here. So click that. We'll choose show, and you can just scroll through this. And this is one of the things I love about Captivate 12, is that it's very easy to identify the right object. I'm still, following my old standard of labeling my objects whenever I can, but, in a case like this, it's real obvious what the next button is. So I can select that, click next. You could add some animation if you want, but I don't need to do that in this case here, and I'll just click done. We can take the extra step of merging these actions together so that they're all together, and I think we're good to go. The other thing I might want to do, because I am providing my own navigation controls, I can turn off the play bar if I'm not going to use it. So let's do a preview and see how this works. Okay, so here we are. Here's our slide here. I'm just going to shrink this down a bit so we can see everything. Here's our scenario. Our guy's thinking about what the right answer is. I'm going to choose no. That's incorrect, and he's prompting me to try again. Let's choose yes. Correct, so long as lunch isn't overly extravagant, blah, blah, blah. And now I have my next button, and I can move on to the rest of the course.